Super Mega Force gave us the Bruisers, large blue foot soldiers that were things. Hello there, Rangers, and welcome to another Power Rangers off-season video, and it's another Top 10 week. I have ranked my top 10 villains, my top 10 sub-villains. Seeing as ranking my top 10 monsters would probably be a job just a little too big, I guess it's time to rank the grunts. You know, the mooks, the cannon fodder, the foot soldiers. When Ranger squads are usually at least 3 members, you need some disposable foot soldiers to even things up a little bit. Heck, sometimes those foot soldiers are literally disposable, sacrificed just to weaken defenses. Let's take a look at my top 10 Power Rangers foot soldiers. I don't really have an honorable mention this week, things kind of broke even with the haves and the have-nots, but I wanted to talk about a growing trend with foot soldiers in Power Rangers. Super Mega Force introduced the concept of a second level foot soldier, still disposable but stronger than your regular foot soldiers, with 2 or 3 of them being about equal to the power level of a monster. I mean, SPD did have the blue and orange heads, but I really consider those to be more like 3 different models of the same robot. Super Mega Force gave us the Bruisers, large blue foot soldiers who were able to turn their arms into cannons. In fact, there was even a 3rd level Emperor Mavro's Royal Guard, red versions of the Bruisers who were even stronger, with only 2 of them matching the power level of a monster. Dino Charge has given us the Spike Balls, whose name doesn't really make any sense, but they are also large blue foot soldiers, whose Sledge also seems to use as prison guards. They actually have a much more interesting story in the Sentai Kyoryuger. You see, in that, the enemies were gathering 3 human emotions: joy, sadness, and anger. They needed to gather a certain level of each emotion to help their master. However, they were able to cash in a little bit of each emotion to create Cambrima, which is why the Spike Balls have 1 of each emotion face on their chest. It was just a really neat element in their creation that for one reason or another didn't translate over to Dino Charge. Overall, I just think the idea of an elite-type foot soldier is something that's really neat. Now, ToQger did not have any kind of elite foot soldier. Ninja actually does. And, based on the news that we got today, Saturday, it looks like we're going to have a 3rd consecutive season of Power Rangers that uses an elite foot soldier. But that is a rant for another video, so why don't we just get to the list. Number 10, Cyclobots, Time Force. Figured I'd hit you all with a zinger to get this list started. Yes, the grunts from Time Force are at the bottom of this list, not the top. Robots with sword blasters, the Cyclobots were invented by Frax originally to be used for good, but eventually came under the control of Ransik. They were strength in numbers, as we saw, for example, when Wes had to fight a large horde of them. My favorite thing about the Cyclobots is they seem to have been programmed to be very happy-go-lucky. They move by bouncing around on their feet, and they have this arm-pumping motion that just makes them seem very happy. They have 2 downsides. The first is that there's nothing really super special about them. They're kind of generic, just your regular basic robotic soldier. The second is that it's kind of unclear how they came to serve Ransik. Frax invented them, Ransik betrayed him, but then they served Ransik under Frax, and then when Frax was reprogrammed, they just kept serving Ransik anyway? Number 9, Tyrannodrones, Dino Thunder. The Tyrannodrones were invented by Anton Mercer and Tommy Oliver. Sometime after Tommy's Ranger days, he got a PhD in some kind of dinosaur studies, which is kind of appropriate if you think about it, and he was hired by Mercer Industries. Anton Mercer used his knowledge to create the Tyrannodrones using dinosaur DNA. Tommy said they were made to help people, but I can't really think of how these things would help people except for maybe scaring children into obeying their parents. These things are dark and ugly. I can't imagine who would want these things helping them. However, one of their major assets is also a major drawback. The Tyrannodrones are dark. Too dark. I didn't really have a clear picture of what they looked like in my mind, and after looking them up, I still don't really. They're kind of featureless. They're just scales and spikes, and I can't even really see what kind of dinosaur they're supposed to be. Number 8, Chillers and Lava Lizards, Operation Overdrive. Alright, Sean, having something from Time Force at the bottom of the list, that's one thing. But ranking something from Overdrive higher than that? What can I say? I've just always kind of liked these guys. For one thing, they were our first factional foot soldiers, and that really helped keep things fresh on Overdrive because the Rangers weren't fighting the same foot soldiers every single time. Also, they were polar opposites, if you'll forgive that slight pun, with the Chillers representing the ice power of Flurious, and the Lava Lizards the fire power of Moltor. Also, they were a lot more expressive than your usual grunts, especially the Lava Lizards. And yes, for the record, I do realize that Camdor once cast a spell on a group of ninja stuntmen and used them as foot soldiers. I almost included them in this group, but he only did it once. And the Fear Cats were just too tough to even need foot soldiers. Number 7, Rinshi, Jungle Fury. The Rinshi lose points in name creativity, not just being their Sentai counterparts, but being directly named after them as well. But otherwise, these guys are pretty cool. They're based on Chinese vampires, and they moved a lot like the Cyclobots, but this time with a 2-foot hopping maneuver. The best thing about the Rinshi was the opportunities for career advancement. A regular Rinshi can become a monster by being enhanced with an animal spirit. This gives it a kind of level 2 form with a different colored cloak and some more abilities, and then they can go top level and become a monster. It's this kind of versatility that makes the Rinshi so neat. Number 6, Crybots, Blueheads, and Orangeheads, SPD. I bet some of you thought that I would be putting the Orangeheads up at number 1, huh? Well, I have to admit that I was tempted, but I didn't feel like it would be right to separate them from the others. Like I said back in the Elite section, I feel like these are 3 different models of the same basic robot. That being said, I really do love the Crybot design with their round spotted heads and black overall designs. The Blueheads were level 2 and had the ability to command Crybots, and the Orangeheads were level 3, able to command the other 2 and even sometimes piloting giant robots. Kind of like I said with Overdrive, it lended a variety to the fight scenes, which kind of made them better. Number 5, Moogers, Samurai and Super Samurai. All mouth, no lies, as Linkara put it. The Moogers were basically the River Styx's lava lizards, but there was always something kind of unsettling about them. I think it was the no eyes thing. They were all mouth and red and evil. Also, they were one of the few grunts that actually got to grow big. It was always neat watching the Samurai Megazord get to fight actual grunts. These ones also lose some points in the generic column, and I think it's that same lack of eyes. They all just looked basically identical, and large crowds of them tended to get boring pretty fast. There was a subset of Moogers that were purple, servants of a different master in the Sentai movie, but that kind of got glossed over by Samurai. Number 4, Vivix, Dino Charge. And here we have our current grunts, the Vivix. I kind of like how the design of the Vivix reminds me of amoebas, because it kind of fits their place in the show. Small, insignificant life forms. Otherwise, their designs don't stand out a whole lot, but they do have those long head tendrils, which has the show trying to make seaweed heads a thing. The Vivix take the idea of strength in numbers and amp it up to Zord level. The Vivix are able to mass themselves together into large dinosaur-like creatures called Vivizords. It's not something that they've done a ton, but it's always fun to see when they do, and it adds an interesting twist to Zord battles. Number 3, Swabbies, Lost Galaxy. The Swabbies give me a chance to talk about an interesting original aspect of Power Rangers. There have been times where, for whatever reason, the show has decided not to use the grunts provided by the Sentai footage, but instead create their own. Lost Galaxy was one such case. The villain that we know as Captain Mutiny, seen in an arc of episodes right near the end of Lost Galaxy, was actually the main villain of the Sentai Gingaman. Perhaps wanting a more intimidating villain than an anthropomorphic pirate ship, Lost Galaxy created the original villains Scorpius and Trachina, and with them, insect-based foot soldiers, the Stingwingers. However, I found the Stingwingers to be even more faceless, generic, and boring than the Tyrannodrones. The crowning moment of their achievement was having bombs strapped to their chest to destroy a Megazord and infiltrate Terra Venture. I found Captain Mutiny's foot soldiers, the Swabbies, to be much more interesting. The Swabbies were pretty much exactly what you'd expect them to be, themed around the deckhands of a pirate ship, even able to say things like "Yar" and "Ahoy." And also, while I didn't realize this until I took a second look at them, they were primarily orange. They were just really fun, they fit what they were supposed to be, so while they weren't the main foot soldiers of their season, they still earned my number 3 spot. Let's recap the list. The Cyclobots did a happy dance when they got the number 10 spot. The Tyrannodrones were just scary enough to be number 9. The Chillers and Lava Lizards split the number 8 spot. The Rinshi's versatility earned them number 7. 2 each for the Crybots, Blueheads, and Orangeheads at number 6. The Moogers Lovecrafted their way to number 5. The Vivics grew their way to number 4. And the Swabbies cleaned up at number 3. Alright guys, things just got a little more interesting. At this point, my camera card ran out of space. It was 2 a.m., and I didn't want to take the camera down, import the footage, and set back up, so the rest of this video is going to be voiceovers. Think of it like a mini podcast. Number 2, Quantrons in space. What is not to love about these guys? They are robotic foot soldiers done right. They were nearly as menacing as their leader, Astronema. Big black eyes on a silver body, just really tough looking robots. They were a beefier kind of robotic foot soldier. Heck, they even had personality, sometimes taunting the Rangers with their synthesized voices. I love their weapons too, a big, jagged, two-handed batleth kind of a weapon. It's one of the fiercer weapons that have been used by grunts. No, that is far too esoteric a topic to do a list about. Number 1. Putties and Z-Putties, Mighty Morphin. Say it with me, nostalgia rules. I just couldn't rank anyone besides the Putties at number 1. Clay-molded soldiers, made the same way the monsters are. One thing I liked about the Putties is that they moved around a lot, tending to stay on the move and being really agile. And that classic noise, that blubbering, nonsensical noise, you're thinking of it right now, aren't you? You're doing it right now, aren't you? Hey, come on, focus! Oh, fine. When Lord Zed took over for Rita, the Putties got another upgrade into the white suits of the Z-Putties. Unfortunately for them, while they looked snazzier and even moved into choreographed routines for their entrances, the vanity of Lord Zed proved a weakness. The big Z emblem on their chest was their weak point, a punch and destroy button. Not sure why this button needed to be added. Maybe a quick writing way to end the fight since they were original footage, so that quick destroy button could give you an in-universe reason for a fast putty fight. In the end, it comes down to a comment that I got in the votes, and it's a sentiment I've heard before. Many people think of the term putties when describing any Power Rangers grunts in general, and even those who aren't fans of the show remember the putties, the sounds they made, and the way they moved. That type of holding power is worthy of number 1. At this point, we've reached a quirk in the off-season schedule. The next scheduled video was a discussion of the Power Rangers movie in 2017, but I said that could be tabled if we got the first episode of Dino Supercharge a week early online. There isn't any word on that yet. There probably won't be until 1 week before, so on the 17th. Therefore, I'm just going to go ahead and do a video on Sunday the 17th. If we do get an early online premiere, I'll just move up the date of the next video to Friday. So, now we're going to discuss the movie and all that stuff, right? Well, no. I feel the same way about it that I did before, that it's a bit too early to really do a good video about that. So instead, I'm going to borrow an idea from one of my viewers, John Sidney. It's perfectly normal to love some things and hate others, but balance is a good thing to keep in your life. When you love something, it can be helpful to remember its flaws to keep that love in check. When you hate something, it can help your sanity to remember that it does have some good qualities. So next week, I'm going to do a video called The Love-Hate 5. I'm going to take my top 5 seasons and tell you something that I don't like about each of them, and then my bottom 5 seasons and tell you something I do like about them. It should be fun, so I hope you'll tune in. Then, if we get Dino Supercharge early, Friday will be a recap video of Dino Charge. Finally, and I hate to say this guys, but due to the fluctuations in the schedule and other things involving the holidays, I'm gonna have to break that story segment promise. I mean, hey, the villains must have seen me through the window buzzing around writing videos and they got freaked out. We're not going to have any story segments during the off-season period, but don't worry, the story will come back once we get to Supercharge reviews. That's going to do it for another Power Rangers off-season video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for dealing with this little quirk of being voiceovers only at the end. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for your votes and your comments and watching this channel and helping it grow. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you'll tune in next week. Until then, may the power protect you. You can just picture me doing that salute thing. Bye! Hello there, Rangers, and welcome to another Power Rangers off-season video. Now, keeping track of my volume completely screwed me up on what I'm saying. You know, the Mooks. God dang it. Super Mega Force gave us the Bruisers, large blue foot soldiers that were able to turn their arms into cannons. Red versions of the Super Mega Force gave us the Bruisers, large blue foot soldiers who were able to turn their arms into cannons. In fact, there was even a third level, Emperor Mabro's Royal Guard, red versions of the Bruisers. Damn it. Robots with sword blasters. The Cyclobots were shrunk in numbers, but not that because of the other thing. Robots with sword blasters. The Cyclobots were invented by Frax to be used for good originally, but eventually came under the control of Ransik. Oh, my mind is not in the right place for this for some reason. Figured I'd hit you all with a zinger to get this list started. Yes, the grunts from time... With the Chillers representing the ice power of Flurious and the Lava Lizards the fire power of Moltor. Like I said up in the Elite section, I feel like perhaps wanting a more intimidating villain than an anthropomorphic pirate ship, the villain we know of is Captain Mutiny, seen... So that quick destroy button could give you an
Oh, now, the wise